The night is quiet. You are in your sanctuary, this peaceful space you fought so hard to build after they left you in ruins. And in this silence, the phone rings. You know who it is before you even look. That name on the screen is a ghost, a memory you thought you had buried. The problem was never a simple argument or a misunderstanding. It was a betrayal so deep and calculated it took your breath away. This was the person you trusted without question, in business, in friendship, in love. And they shattered the most sacred bond you had. They looked you in the eye while dismantling your world for their own gain. The pain you felt wasn't just about what you lost, whether it was money, a project, or a shared future. The real wound was the sting of being made to feel invisible. It was watching your values, your loyalty, and your very essence get trampled by their suffocating selfishness. They made you feel like you didn't matter, and for a long time, you believed them. This call isn't a distant echo of that pain. It's the reopening of that same wound. It brings back the memory of sleepless nights spent questioning everything, the trust issues that took root in your heart like a poison, and the sheer strength it took to pick up every broken piece of yourself and rebuild, brick by lonely brick. On the other end of the line, their voice, once so confident and arrogant, is now just a fragile thread, broken by tears. You don't need to see them to know that life is handing them the bill. The law of cause and effect is absolute, and its results are clear to anyone paying attention. Their voice isn't just trembling with emotion, it's shaking under the weight of chronic anxiety. They talk about sleepless nights, a gnawing emptiness that nothing can fill, and their fading health. The success they built on your ruins has turned to ash. Their relationships are shallow and transactional, and now that the foundation is crumbling, they find themselves utterly alone. Their downfall isn't divine punishment, it's the natural outcome of their own actions. Their body and spirit reflect the wasteland in their soul, a face worn down by worry, eyes that can no longer meet anyone's gaze, and a loneliness that has become their constant shadow. They are reaping exactly what they sowed: mistrust, emptiness, and fear. Through sobs, the request finally comes. Please, forgive me. I need you to forgive me so I can be free of this karma, so I can move on. And that's when you understand the true nature of this call. It isn't about your healing. It's about their salvation. They want to use your forgiveness as a get-out-of-jail-free card for their conscience. With a calm that surprises even you, you answer. There's no hatred in your voice, only the clarity of someone who has already grieved and moved on. You explain that you forgave them long ago, not for them, but for yourself, so you could heal. But that forgiveness isn't a bargaining chip for their conscience. Their karma is theirs to carry, a path they must walk alone to learn its lesson. Refusing them isn't an act of revenge, it's an act of self-respect and spiritual integrity. You wish them peace on their journey, but you make it clear that your own peace is no longer up for negotiation. You hang up the phone. The silence that fills the room is no longer an emptiness. It's the sound of your freedom. Look, let's talk about what happened. It wasn't a mistake or a moment of weakness. It was a choice. There was a crossroads, a moment where they looked at everything you had built together, the trust, the shared history, the loyalty, and they put it on a scale. On the other side of that scale was what they wanted for themselves, their ambition, their gain, their shortcut to a life they felt they deserved, and they decided that was worth more. The wrong decision wasn't just that they chose to betray you, it was how they did it. It was calculated. They looked you in the eye, fully aware of the devastation they were about to cause, and chose to proceed. They decided that your trust was a resource to be spent, that your value was secondary to their desires. That single, conscious decision to dismantle your world for their own benefit was the seed of everything they are experiencing now. They built their new life on a foundation of broken trust and selfishness, and a house built on such rotten ground was never meant to stand. And so, as you listen, you notice it. That voice on the other end of the line, the one that once cut through rooms with its arrogance, is now thin and fragile.
It cracks under the weight of unshed tears. You don't need a picture to see what's happening. You can hear the universe balancing its books. The law of cause and effect isn't a mystical concept. It's a simple, undeniable truth. And the invoice has finally arrived at their door. They speak of nights spent staring at the ceiling, a hollow feeling in their chest that no amount of success or distraction can fill. The voice trembles not just with sadness, but with the distinct hum of chronic anxiety. The empire they built on the rubble of your trust has become a prison. Their relationships, you realize, were always transactional, built on what others could do for them. Now that the ground is shaking, those people are gone, and they are left completely and utterly alone. This isn't some divine punishment. It's the natural outcome of a soul corroded by its own choices.
Their body is simply reflecting the state of their spirit. You can almost see them. A face etched with the lines of constant worry, eyes that can no longer hold a steady gaze, and a loneliness so profound it has become a permanent shadow. They are living the exact harvest of the seeds they planted in your life, a world filled with mistrust, emptiness, and a fear that never sleeps. And then, through the litany of their self-inflicted misery, the true purpose of the call finally slithers out from beneath the wreckage of their sobs. It's not a humble request. It's a desperate transactional demand. Please, the voice crackles, thin and reedy. You have to forgive me. I need you to say the words. I can't live like this anymore. This karma, it's crushing me. I need you to release me from it so I can finally move on. In that instant, the entire dynamic shifts. The last ghost of intimidation you ever felt from them vanishes, replaced by a profound and startling clarity. You see them not as the powerful figure who once held your world in their hands, but as a frightened child standing before a locked door, demanding you produce the key. This call was never about acknowledging your pain. It was never about atonement. It was a frantic search for an escape hatch. They want to use your forgiveness as a spiritual loophole, a cosmic get-out-of-jail-free card to absolve them of the responsibility for their own soul's decay. They are not asking for your healing. They are demanding you perform an exorcism on their conscience so they can finally get a good night's sleep. A calm you haven't felt in years settles deep in your bones. It's not the brittle shield of someone who is numb, but the quiet, unshakable strength of a mountain that has weathered its storm. The fire of your old anger has long since burned out, leaving behind not cold ash, but fertile ground. There is no desire for revenge, only the clear, simple truth. I forgave you a long time ago, you say, and your voice is the calmest thing in the room. It is even, measured, and completely detached from the chaos on the other end of the line. I had to. Carrying the poison of what you did was like trying to build a new house while holding a burning stone. I couldn't do both. So, for my own survival, for my own sanity, I let it go. I forgave you, not because you earned it, but because I deserved peace. You let the words hang in the air, a stark contrast to their frantic energy. You could almost hear the gears grinding in their mind, the hope turning to confusion as they realize this isn't going the way they planned. But you need to understand something very clearly, you continue, your voice softening not with pity, but with the gravity of the truth you're about to deliver. My forgiveness was an act of self-preservation. It was me closing my side of a painful chapter. It was the final step in my own healing. It has absolutely nothing to do with you or your consequences. It is not a magic wand I can wave to erase the choices you made. The sleepless nights, the emptiness, the fear that follows you, that is your debt to pay. That is your karma, your life lesson. It is the curriculum your soul needs to learn, and I will not help you cheat on the test. Your healing is your work to do, and it cannot be outsourced to the very person you broke. This isn't vengeance. Vengeance is a hot, messy entanglement, and you are finally, blessedly, untangled. This is the ultimate act of self-respect. It is the quiet, firm reclamation of your spiritual sovereignty. You are not a key, you are not a cure, you are not a solution to their problems. I genuinely wish you peace on your journey, you say, and the sincerity in your voice surprises even you. It's the detached goodwill one might have for a stranger. I hope you find your way through this. But my peace, the peace I fought tooth and nail to build for my own ruins, is no longer a commodity. It is not up for negotiation. And with that final declarative statement, your thumb moves with purpose. You end the call. The silence that floods the room is no longer an enemy. For years, silence was a reminder of what was lost, an empty space filled with ghosts.
But this silence is different. It's solid. It's cleansing. It is the profound, resonant sound of a door clicking shut for the last time. It's not the absence of their voice. It's the presence of your freedom. You don't have to see them to know what has happened. You've seen this story play out before, not in movies, but in the lives of real people. The universe has a way of turning the soul inside out, making the inner decay visible for all to see. The signs of the fall are always the same, and you can piece them together from the broken fragments in their voice and the things they don't say. Think about their face. The face that once held a confident, almost predatory smile is now a mask of exhaustion. It's a weariness that sleep can't fix because it doesn't come from the body, it comes from the spirit. It's in the subtle sag of their shoulders, the dullness in their eyes that no amount of success can polish. They live in a state of low-grade, constant tension, and it has carved new lines of worry around their mouth and eyes. They look older, not with the grace of wisdom, but with the brittle weight of unresolved burdens. Then there is the behavior. The arrogance has been replaced by a nervous, twitchy energy.
They avoid direct questions and deep conversations, not out of malice anymore, but out of fear. They are terrified of being truly seen because they know what lies beneath the surface. Their relationships, the ones they built on the foundation of what they could gain, are now just a series of hollow echoes. They are surrounded by people, but are profoundly alone. This isolation makes them skittish and defensive, quick to anger or retreat, because they live in a world where they can't trust anyone, a perfect reflection of the untrustworthiness they sowed. And finally, consider their environment. The life they fought so hard to build on your ruins is a cold and sterile monument to their ambition. It has all the appearances of success, the nice things, the right address, but it lacks warmth. It's a house, not a home. It's a place where they reside, but not where they live. There is no joy in that space, only the quiet hum of anxiety and the deafening silence of their own company. Every shiny surface only reflects their own emptiness back at them. This is the ultimate price they paid. They traded authentic connection for a beautiful, empty cage. And what happens next? What does the morning look like after a night like that? For years, you woke up with a knot in your stomach, a quiet dread that was the first thing to greet you in the morning. It was the residue of the betrayal, a poison that had seeped into your system. But the morning after that call, you wake up and for the first time, there is only stillness. The knot is gone. The space it occupied is now filled with a quiet, steady calm. This is the real aftermath. It's not a dramatic fireworks display of victory. It's the subtle, profound shift in the very air you breathe. You walk through your day and notice the small things again. The taste of your coffee, the warmth of the sun on your skin, the genuine smile of a stranger. These were always there, but you couldn't feel them because your energy was tied up in a battle that was no longer yours to fight. You have taken your tower back, not by winning, but by refusing to play. In the weeks and months that follow, you will see the true meaning of that final closed door. You will build new relationships, but on a different foundation. Your boundaries are no longer suggestions. They are the clear, solid walls of the sanctuary you built. You trust your intuition because you've seen what happens when you ignore it. You give your loyalty and your heart, but you no longer offer them as a blank check to be cashed by another's selfishness. The memory of what they did will not vanish. It is a scar, and it will always be part of your story, but it no longer hurts to the touch. It's a reminder not of your weakness, but of your resilience. It's the mark that proves you were broken open and chose to heal into something stronger and more whole than you were before. You will never know the full story of their journey, nor do you need to. You have been released from the role of spectator to their downfall. Their path is their own, a solitary walk through the consequences they created. Perhaps they will learn, perhaps they won't, but their healing, their karma, and their salvation are no longer your concern. Your only responsibility is to the peace you now inhabit. And that is the final, beautiful truth. Your forgiveness was the key that unlocked your own cage, but you left them with their own door, their own lock, and their own key to find. True freedom isn't about watching them pay their price. It's about being so at peace in your own life that you no longer look back to see if the bill has been collected. The call comes in the quiet of the night, into the sanctuary you fought so hard to build. That name on the screen is a ghost from a past you thought was buried. This was never about a simple argument. It was a calculated betrayal, a choice they made to shatter the trust between you for their own benefit. The deepest wound wasn't what you lost. It was the sting of being made to feel invisible, of watching your loyalty and values get trampled by their suffocating selfishness.
That call reopens it all, reminding you of the strength it took to pick up every broken piece of yourself. But the voice on the other end is a phantom of its former self. The confidence that once cut through rooms is now a fragile thread, cracking under the weight of chronic anxiety. You don't need to see them to know that life is handing them the bill. The law of cause and effect is absolute. They speak of sleepless nights and a gnawing emptiness that their hollow success can no longer fill. Their relationships, always transactional, have evaporated now that the foundation is crumbling, leaving them utterly alone. This isn't divine punishment. It's the natural outcome of a soul corroded by its own choices. They are reaping the exact harvest of the seeds they planted in your life: mistrust, emptiness, and fear. Then, through a litany of their self-inflicted misery, the true purpose of the call slithers out. "Please," they sob, "you have to forgive me. I need you to say the words so I can be free of this karma." In that instant, you understand. This call was never about your healing. It was about their salvation. They want to use your forgiveness as a get-out-of-jail-free card for their conscience, a spiritual loophole to escape the consequences of their actions. A profound calm settles over you. There is no hatred left, only clarity.
"I forgave you a long time ago," you say, your voice even and strong. "I had to. I couldn't rebuild my life while carrying the poison of what you did. I did it for myself, because I deserved peace." You pause, letting the words find their mark. "But my forgiveness was an act of self-preservation. It has nothing to do with your consequences. The karma you're carrying is your burden, your lesson to learn. Your healing is your work to do, and it cannot be outsourced to the person you broke. This isn't revenge, it's spiritual integrity. I wish you peace on your journey," you say, "but my peace is no longer up for negotiation." You end the call. The silence that floods the room is no longer an emptiness. It is the solid, resonant sound of a door clicking shut for the last time. It is the sound of your freedom. And then the moment will come, not in a storm of drama, but in the quiet of an ordinary night, long after you've swept the last of their dust from the corners of your life. A message will appear, a name you haven't seen in years. It's a simple, almost timid probe into your world. "Can we talk?" And when you hear their voice, you understand. The old arrogance has been sanded down by hardship, replaced by a thin, brittle desperation. They speak of a life that looks successful from the outside, but feels like a hollow shell. They talk of sleepless nights, of a constant humming anxiety, of a loneliness so profound it has become their only companion. They are living in the ruins of the choices they made, the very choices that broke you. They don't ask how you are. They don't acknowledge the wasteland they left behind for you to navigate alone. Instead, their story of suffering circles a single selfish point until it finally lands. "I need you to forgive me," they say, their voice cracking. "This karma, it's crushing me. I need you to release me so I can move on." And that's when the last chain breaks. You see with perfect clarity that this isn't about your healing. It's about theirs. They are not seeking to mend what they broke. They are seeking an escape from the prison they built for themselves. They want to use your grace as a key to their own locked door. A calm that feels ancient and unshakable settles in your chest. There is no anger, only the quiet finality of a chapter that has long been over. You let the silence sit for a moment before you speak, your voice even and clear. "I forgave you a long time ago," you tell them, "and it's the truest thing you've ever said. I had to. It was an act of survival for me. But my forgiveness doesn't absolve you. It doesn't erase your choices. The consequences you are facing are yours alone. That is your path to walk, and I will not carry that the way you would wish it for a stranger." And you end the call. The silence that follows is not empty. It is full. It is the sound of a debt being returned to its rightful owner. It is the sound of a bond, finally and completely, being severed. I am free.